All right, guys. Welcome to Rant and Chill, man. Here we are. I'm chilling with the BAKA Broadcast. How's it going, Mr. BAKA?
Hello, I'm doing alright. I'm used to being called BAKA now. Yeah,
BAKA.
you can
BAKA.
call me Howard. You can call me BAKA. You can call me whatever you please.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, I gotta ask you though. So, like BAKA, like I have limited Japanese, but I thought BAKA was like doesn't stand doesn't mean idiot or fool or something. Like what does it mean in Japanese?
I like to fall back on the fact that not that this is much of an upgrade. That usually, apparently, it's more comparable to the word fool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my channel was originally set up because it kind of evolved from another project, but it was set up with a couple of friends, and we just left doing a radio show that we did, and we needed to create this whole thing. And we were thinking, oh, branding. And the three of us were in a conversation, and one of them just happens to be an Irish comedian. And he decided, hey, why don't we call it BAKA? Well, originally it was BAKA Breakdown. And I was like, we all just went, okay, but it's pretty good. Let's go with that. And then they all slowly had other things to do, and it meant that I took on the channel myself, and now I'm just BAKA. So what was supposed to be a group term is now just my new name.
Hey, look at that though. I mean, that's kind of cool. So it started off as like you guys were doing it together, but now it's just you, and kind of like a lone wolf in it. But it seems kind of like there's a comedic aspect to it. You know, it seemed like you don't take it too seriously, and it's kind of like just having a good time.
So, yeah, I think the biggest issue I tend to find is that because obviously I want to be like really honest when I'm talking about music, and I have a lot of honest opinions, and there are things I really don't like, and there are things I really do like. But the thing is when you're doing that, you have to obviously keep in the back of your head that this is all music, it's all entertainment, there's always subjectivity. It's like, yes, you should be able to say, I don't like that, if you can say why. Yeah, you can say you like something, but that's all the more powerful if you can say why. But at the end of the day, all of this is pretty meaningless. If you enjoy it, you enjoy it. But the conversation is the point. So, yeah, you've got to keep it fun, got to keep it friendly, yes.
Right.
That's my opinion.
Right. You don't take it so seriously. How, like, a lot of fans do, not going to pick on any or point to any particular fandom or anyway.
Everyone in the audience can probably work out some examples of what you're talking about for themselves.
I might have done a stream the other night about one of them, be like, "Hey, don't be so hurt if someone says, oh, this band's more organic than this other band." It's like, don't worry about it.
I saw that. I was watching that one last night. Was it last night? Either last night or a couple of nights ago, I was watching that one, and I remember looking at it and thinking, I was kind of like pleased you said that, because obviously there's a lot of different things, and we've talked a bit about a couple of those bands on BAKA Broadcast, and the other channel I do is To the East. We talked a bit about that, and it's surprising because when you do those videos, you're thinking, oh, I'm going to get a lot of crap from people, but it's surprising how often you'll get other people from the community who will just be like, yeah, I really love XYZ band, and I just, I agree with you. I just kind of want to chat to other people who like music as well. And just because I love a band doesn't mean I have to sit around pretending they're perfect. And so I think a lot of the time that's actually a shared sentiment.
Yeah, and honestly, I was expecting blowback too. When I put out the short for the announcement of the stream, I was like, oh, here we go. We're going to get a lot of negative comments. You know how YouTube can be. But no, there was like one. I know a couple of band-maid fans kind of rubbing it in, but it's like, I get you, but it doesn't matter to me. That's the whole point. Is it doesn't matter and it shouldn't matter. Just enjoy the music that you enjoy. But
I saw sorry, just following up on that. I saw a Twitter thing. There was some I think it was like a metal Twitter account or something, and they were doing a competition where it was one of those tier things where I'll vote between these two bands and then we'll vote to find the best one. And eventually it sort of came to, as you'd expect, I think it was actually in the semi-final, they had BABYMETAL versus bandmaid, and all of the comments were people talking about, oh, is BABYMETAL a real band? I'm like, is that actually the question that's being asked? It's like, it's,
I mean, they perform live with musicians. I mean, they're a real band. I mean, are they?
I don't think that it even matters. I mean, in the same way that look, we know that BABYMETAL don't write their own songs, but I don't want BABYMETAL to write songs because that's not their thing. In the same way they have these big theatrical stage shows, they're more of a show.
Yeah,
They're
that's
an
how I see them as,
experience.
more of a show.
They have these writers so they can do anything. They can switch out their musicians. They are a show because that's their quality. And Bandmaid's quality is being a band. And of course, Bandmaid didn't write their songs initially, but they took over those reins and improved massively.
Their biggest hit, Thrill, is probably not their biggest hit today. According to YouTube, it still is, though. By YouTube numbers, that one's still number one, right? I mean, which song has the most views on YouTube? I thought it was Thrill. I could be wrong there, but that was
that walks that weird that you get that sort of those two scales that move against each other, which is the most popular and the most loved. So a lot, I mean, you might find that if you look at the audience retention figures, I don't know, but my guess is that audience retention numbers for Thrill might be lower because it's a lot of people going, "What's this?" and just listening to the first 30 seconds and going,
I mean, that was my gateway into I said Baby. That was my gateway into Bandmaid.
You're uniting the fan.
You know what? I do that because I talk about these bands. I like them both. I actually change them up in my mind. They're kind of like it'd be cool if they were all like friendly and stuff. Okay, enough about that. We'll get more into that later. But like we gotta. My first time talking to you, really, my first time meeting you. Who are you? We already went through that, but like, tell me about the BAKA Broadcast. Like, how did? Well, we got that started, man. I mean, no, actually. Tell me a little bit more about that because, like, I mean, you moved to. I'm guessing you moved to Japan and you followed this crazy dream of I guess getting involved with bands and promoting them and doing a reaction channel. Like, how did it all work?
I'm going to try and restrain this story as I have a habit of telling my life story if anyone gives me too much open rein. So I'm going to try and pull this into a nice, neat package. Watch me fail half an hour later. Obviously so many different aspects led into that. I mean, in regards to the channel, this channel evolved from a previous YouTube channel where previously I was doing reactions, but I stopped doing that. And that there was a copyright thing with that, which was part of what eventually pushed me over the edge. Right. So I got this channel evolved from a previous channel, which itself evolved from a radio show that I had with said friends. And then that evolved from a podcast that we did for this magazine back in the UK, and it's a UK magazine that was all about sort of interesting niche culture, and we did a podcast for them, which was what turned into the radio show. And then that evolved from like a separate sort of musical project that I did with a friend, and so it was just weird how this all evolved over time. And you know, the friends who are no longer so much involved in the channel, they're still friends. They still pop up on the occasional live stream, and you know, the older followers know them. So there's a feeling that it's kind of evolved in a very organic way over a long period of time. But the I when I was much younger, like so many people, you know, I wanted to do music. I did music. I didn't have much success, but I got a little bit. I sold some records, traveled around a little bit. I was in the US and stuff like that, and that was all fun. But there was just this period where, so I first came to Japan to work with music back in 2007, I think it was. Had a little stint there. And just over time, both my love of music and then finding Japan and going, I never expected to like Japan, but I just fell in love with it and fell in love with the Japanese music, which I adored. I just loved the writing style. And this all developed. And then around about a few years before I moved here, I moved here 8 years ago, but a few years before that happened, I was just I'd have sort of gone from working on my own music more to working with other bands and helping bands and things like that. And because I'd had some contacts from my own time with like the music industry, I had like some small contacts that I could use to do that. And when I came back to Japan, when I moved to Japan, basically this time, I thought to myself, yeah, I want to do something. I want to work with projects. I want to find things I care about. And it was very difficult because as much talent as there is here, there's a lot of people who are very I don't want to perpetuate a stereotype because this is not for everyone, but there are still probably a majority of people who are aspiring Japanese musicians probably are not very flexible on how they're willing to approach it. They'll do almost anything to get there. They'll put in the work, and yet they're not willing to do flexible things. Like there was one group where I worked with them and I said, look, they were playing a lot of shows on the street, busking, and I said, "You're really good, but the problem is you're charging 1,000 yen per CD, which is like $10." And I was like, "Don't do that, because people don't open their wallets that way." I was like, get your music online, and then just print out some little USB sticks or some CDs, or get some QR codes, and just give people music for free. Because I promise, if you ingratiate yourself to them first of all, they will then feel they owe you attention, rather than they now feel that they've paid you money. And and I was kind of saying this to them, and so many of them weren't flexible. And you look now, like that was like probably about 10 years ago. You look up now, and like that's what all the groups are doing. And if they got on that ahead, then they would have been ahead. And so it's really weird how a lot of them aren't flexible. But of recent, I've got into more circles of like a certain area of the Japanese music industry where people seem to be more willing to talk. And plus, the channel's given me more credibility. I can sort of point the channel to a lot of people, and they go, "Oh, okay." Rather than him coming to us with a CV of contacts who are 10 years old, he actually is coming to us with actively being a music reviewer. So yeah, it's just sort of led to that point where now I can really bring that passion. That passion that sounds like such a thing you'd write on a CV or resume.
That's a very cool.
My passion for Japanese music.
That's a very cool little story, though. I mean, it's so you were already into the music before you came to Japan, and then when you got into Japan, then you could network with the bands or network with the groups and all that, and you got more involved in it. And then, of course, you saw the various performers, whatever, and some, like you said, are stubborn in their ways and hard to change. You see that too in the U.S. too. Now, I think one famous band, Metallica, tried to sue Napster over free music, and I mean they won, but they lost in the end because now everyone's streaming, and musicians or bands get paid next to nothing on that, and it's virtually free. I mean, it is.
But the industry adjusted. The industry adjusted. I mean, remember, if you go back to then, like touring and playing live was not as big a thing. It really wasn't. I mean, yeah, we all have fond memories of, oh, this band played this really great show and legendary shows and things, but it wasn't the priority that it now is for artists. So as a result, artists put a lot more attention into touring, putting a lot of dates in, really going everywhere, seeing their fans. Bands put more attention into that these days because of the fact that that's how they make their money.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to make it off of the physical product anymore.
That and merchandise,
so they got to turn up.
And merchandise,
Well, a lot of the merchandise. I mean, people can correct me. People from their own personal experience can correct me, but I think a lot of merchandise sales through the live shows. Maybe not if you're like a massive, super famous band. Maybe not. But if you're someone like Band-Maid, I would expect that Band-Maid probably make the majority of their merchandise sales in person at the venues, or at least vicariously through people who have just been to a show and then go online and go, "Oh shit, I want to get the tour shirt. I just went to their show." I think the live tours probably drum up a huge amount of merchandise sales as well.
You mean?
But I'm willing to be corrected.
You mean like from like customers or fans from like the West and the U.S.? They probably get the majority of their merchandise purchases at the venue. I
would imagine so.
Because I'm not sure how many are going to the bandmaid store to to buy them versus seeing them at the venue and buying it there. And
exactly, I would lean towards expecting it's, as I say, even more people at the venue, or people who've just come home from the gig and maybe they weren't able to buy it the day, and they're like, "Oh well, so maybe there'll be a limited release of this is the gig shirt, and we're going to sell it until the tour ends." And so they'll go online and go, "Oh, I'm going to quickly get that because I was just at the show." I don't really know. I have no data to work on, but that's my feeling from chatting to people. That seems to be propensity of sale. The majority of sales seem to lean that way, but that could just be anecdotal. I could be wrong.
Now you said something that intrigues me about that as well, like how the bands refuse to adapt, right? And it just had me think of like Asterism. You're familiar? You must be familiar with that group. Asterism, three-piece, very very talented. They just kind of like popped up in like Santa Monica, started playing shows, right? I mean, I'm sure. Were those shows free? I heard there was shows were free, like you could just walk up and hear them play.
I heard they were, yeah. It was that's what I heard from people. They were doing a lot of free shows.
That is crazy for how much that had to cost. Like it's that must have been expensive to I guess fly out from Japan to go to like California, just pop up Santa Monica, play a couple shows.
Think about it from a business perspective. If you are their company, and again, this is just my assumption, but if you are their company, you will have seen all kinds of things. Like you would have seen Bandmaid, you'd have seen Ninguém. You'd have seen these groups who managed to have a splash by just connecting with a Western audience. Now, Asterism already had buzz with people online.
Yeah.
So I would say, yeah, make a loss, send them out. You know, don't plan for any profit. Send them out there because you'll reap the rewards of that down the line.
Yeah, they
that will come back to you. Because the next time they tour, there's going to be people going, oh, yeah, I saw them when they were here last time. And their friends will be really excited. Like, oh, yeah, you showed me their video online after you saw them. They were really cool. I wish I'd seen them. Bam, bam. You know, you've planted the seed of your next tour there. And you know that when you come back next time, your venues will be filled. You know that when you release your next album, people will be watching. It's a loss with a long-term profit. So, no, for me, that's smart. And this is the sort of thing I wish more bands were thinking like that. I mean, ironically, we were talking about Scandal actually when we were doing the sound check.
Yeah.
And I always kind of laugh because Scandal obviously utter legends of the Japanese music industry, and I think probably one of the jewels in the crown. And their marketing is an absolute shit show. It's a mess. It's like their record company's doing everything they can to not promote Scandal.
Yet they got the world record. The world record.
17 years. That's probably what happened. Probably what happens when you're never forced into the limelight. You know? So, I mean, but everyone in Japan's heard of them. Like everyone's heard of them, and yet so often when I talk to people, like I'm talking to bands, I'm asking, who do you like, and they're asking me who I like, and I'll often add Scandal will be in that list, and they'll be like, oh, Scandal's still going. You have no idea how many times I've heard that. Oh, Scandal! Are they still going?
I even had
like,
that.
Literally,
I even
people
had that
don't
thought.
know.
Is I think I reacted to one Scandal music video, and then I don't ever really hear them. Like no one ever really recommends them to me, and I'm like, I guess they're not really active. When I see them, I'm like, I think that might be an old video, but no, they're still active. They're so active that it's actually an achievement. It's a world record. Okay.
Well, the funny thing is when they got that Guinness World Record for 17 years, I was talking to some people about the various stipulations that might seem rather harsh, but actually have a good reason. Like, for example, it has to be the original lineup. It can't be the longest running lineup, but also be the second lineup. It's got to be the lineup from inception. You can't have any new members added, and most importantly, you cannot have a hiatus. Because if you have a hiatus, that even if you like remove the hiatus from the calculation, you've taken a period off to refresh it and make it feel original again. So you cannot have a hiatus. Anything that could basically be considered a refresher, even if you add another member, like I say, that could refresh the dynamic. It cannot be that. And the reason why I say it has to be the initial lineup is because if your initial lineup had a couple of big hit singles and then you changed again, you could be basically running off the fuel of a lineup that isn't the one that's being awarded. So, your hit single could have been before this and you're basically running off of that. So in other words, it's got to be all of those things. So when we look at Scandal, we're looking at a band who have been active. They have not gone away. They have not gone anywhere. They've been doing interesting things. They've been releasing interesting albums. It might not be everyone's cup of tea, but they certainly are a group doing things all the time. And, okay, so you can get hold of their stuff, but like, for example, their record company.
Who is the record company?
Now they kind of share between people that I think they were with Victor before, who were like super old fashioned. From doing reaction videos, if you ever do anything related to Victor, you'll probably get copyright blocked. I
get claimed. I'm a Lovebites super fan, so I guess they know that. Because they let a lot of things just go. Of course, it's just claimed, but that's fine. Anyway.
Claims okay, but the blocks tend to come from people like so. I bet Sony's. I think they're under the Sony umbrella still, and Sony's still pretty old fashioned. But one of the ones that came up is so during the whole like COVID thing, which we can now talk about without YouTube demonetizing you. During that whole period, there was all those online shows, which I thought was just such a wonderful idea. Yeah, it was very different, but I thought it was a beautiful idea. And a lot of bands were charging super low prices because the truth is the overheads are virtually nothing. And again, like we were saying with Asterism, especially in a time like that, get in people's good books, make them associate you with a positive feeling in a negative time.
Yeah,
For
do that.
example, I'm not to do a comparison, but Bandmaid's ones were super cheap. Scandal's ones were like basically the same price as going to an actual live show. You're like, ah, come on, why? It's like, I know you can milk it, but just don't milk it. Don't milk it. And it's not Scandal's fault; it's the record company. But it's like, just don't milk it. Make it cheap. It's not costing you virtually anything to do this. And people are like, oh, they have to pay for the venue. I'm like, the venue's virtually screaming for money right now. I'm pretty sure that the venue could be worked down on price.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Whoever was managing him was doing a piss poor job. I mean, that didn't make any sense. But yeah,
yeah, I mean, I love Scandal, and look, you know, at least they're being kept alive. But I do feel they do. I keep saying, free to Scandal. They deserve more. They deserve like a really dynamic, you know, sort of excited, interested, modern marketing team to like really just give them that, you know, give them the energy that they as a band have, so that people go, damn, Scandal are around still. That's what they need. Anyway, so I'm on my Scandal rant now.
hey, no problem. No, you know, it's actually during
I love Scandal.
the COVID lockdowns that I discovered Scandal. And also discovered many bands, one of which is Nemophila, because they were doing a bunch of covers and stuff. They had a very, and they still do have a very active YouTube channel, though lately they've been touring a lot, so it's not as active as it used to be. It used to be, man, they were just like coming out with videos left and right. It's like, oh my God, who's this? What's this band? It's incredible. And
Brilliant approach, though. You know,
yeah,
using your YouTube, doing covers. It's a great way to get eyes.
yeah. I mean, they embraced it. Gotrek Spin has embraced it lately when they did the react to our video, and we're gonna react to your reaction. I was like,
that was brilliant.
that's freaking smart, man. That's great. Just
Well,
embrace it.
they got freed from. I think they were on. Someone's going to correct me if I'm wrong. I
They
think
were with Victor for a little
Sony.
bit too. I believe they
Victor,
were with
yeah,
Victor.
and then there seemed to be a tie-in when they got freed from that contract. There seemed to be a sudden swell of wanting to do interesting things.
Yeah,
No, they've always been a great band, but for me, I just felt that the dynamic was lifted when they were freed from that. And like you say, that whole Gacha React thing was a brilliant example.
It was
of
very
what
smart,
I imagine
very
they
smart.
wouldn't have been able to do before.
and as someone who's a big Lovebites fan, all right, prominent member of the Wolf Pack, let me say it is a shared complaint about Victor. Now, as a reactor and someone who wants to be friendly with the labels, to maybe they will get interviews or something in the future. I don't know what the possibilities are. I'm like I'll trust the band with their decisions, but it sounds like Victor might not be a good label. Is what I'm hearing.
So let's put it this way. I mean, Victor certainly are around for a long time for a reason. They know how to turn a profit. So I'm not gonna say that they're not capable, but I think that there are better ways of doing things. And as we were talking a moment ago about the change in, you know, the whole music industry, and that this is really a good example. So, you know, I like to have a bit of a comical laugh at companies like Victor and Sony, because the fact their practices, like, you know, sometimes they'll do things and you just go, really? Why are you doing that? But the truth is that they are, like, Sony are slowly starting to seemingly catch up with a lot of more modern approaches. And Victor, I have confidence that they'll get there, but it's just weird. Like, sometimes they're still one of those ones where they're like, you know, putting on like YouTube strikes against reactors. And I think, okay, whatever your attitude towards reacting, it's like no one's gonna like download a reaction and go, yeah, I want to listen to the song for free like this. It's like,
yeah, right.
For a start, if they want to listen to it for free, it's already on Spotify.
They'll go to Spotify or YouTube Music or Apple, whatever. I don't know, but
I mean, yeah, okay, your video might take one view away from their thing, but your video will also probably bring in a lot of people. It'll probably bring in fans and make them talk to each other, which will increase hype. You know,
I hear it
surely
does.
it's better for business to just support reactors and people who actually like you.
I think I noticed a change too with them, because there's certain things that band is doing in particular ever since they got out of their hiatus and got the bass player. First off, their bass audition was online. That was very cool. And they wanted people to react to it. They wanted people to be all like hyped up for it and all that. That was very cool. And lately they've been including live stream works with their live shows, and it's been very well received, and people. I think someone there is paying attention. Their personal manager rep is very young, and he might be more into what's going on and what the fans really want than what the old farts. I mean, I don't know who they are. At the the upper management. So
Lovebites. Now, obviously, I know that this doesn't have a direct effect on anything further up the tree, but it might cause a bit of influence. Lovebites go through JPU in at least the UK. I don't know if it's the rest internationally. JPU being an English-based company, and actually through one of my friends who formed this channel, I know the owner of JPU. And really lovely fella. We've just talked a couple of times online, nothing big, but I mean, he seems like a really lovely fella and pretty down to earth. And my understanding is that because they've got a lot of bands going through them, like Band-Maid and all this as well. And I believe Lovebites go through JPU as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, apologies. But the thing is little connections like that must be giving some feedback. There must be like things coming up that, and they must be seeing what's happening in the rest of the industry. So I do believe these companies will catch up, and I'm sure they are trying to like tentatively work it out. But talking of that though, because I didn't actually. I don't know if I didn't know or I didn't remember that Lovebites were on Victor, but that's rather interesting because I must admit, I agree with you. That whole bass audition thing was a stroke of genius. And, the choice of, I mean, I love the fact, like, when you looked at the video, the things like, there was he looked like a 14-year-old English lad who was like on his little bedroom webcam. And, I want to do my bass audition. I thought, let him join. That would be so weird. It's just this group of Japanese cool women as little English. Brian, I thought that would be amazing, but no, I thought that Fami was just like the perfect choice. Already recognized as a YouTuber, her personality is so much of a misfit, but in such a beautiful way. I keep saying that first photograph that they released of them in the studio with all the girls like looking really cool, and you've got Fami. That is the best band picture ever. Even now, she's still got the same Fami personality. She's still this giggly weirdo. I love her. I think she's pretty.
When you see videos of her playing live, she's smiling. She's smiling as if she can't believe it's happening. I can't read minds, but that's what it seems to be. She's smiling like it's like I can't believe I'm here. Like I'm on this freaking stage with these girls. And I know everyone will say, a lot of people say Fami's very talented and all this. I get that, but like. She's ecstatic. Is my point. She's happy where she's at. And can't believe it.
I get the feeling that she's the sort of person who she just makes the most of. As cliche as this sounds, she makes the most of life. She enjoys it. I mean, when she was doing the YouTube thing, she seemed to like really just be really really like happy and upbeat. And then there was that whole thing where. There was the Davey 504 video.
Oh, I saw that video. That video was
where he was responding and he saw her thing and he pointed out, and Davey 504 is so really funny guy, but he pointed out that there was a video where clearly what she was playing in the video didn't match. And apparently, like the whole Discord between them apparently afterwards was really nice. My friend Neon from Neon Reaper Reacts, he was actually did a video about that as well, and she reached out to him. And she was like, I know people have seen this video, and she was like saying, I apologize. Can you please maybe like look at my new video to see that, it was a mistake of me to dub it. Can you look at the new video to see me actually play it? And she just seemed to be like a really nice person. So I get the feeling she's very humble. And if you're just like that naturally, that's going to come across however far up you climb, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, I think so. People will see it and they'll recognize it. I mean, so yeah. It's a good character.
By the way, I got to apologize. Right, I've got a corner apartment. Okay. For anyone who, I think some people might. I've got a corner apartment.
Am I making too much noise?
Windows on two sides. No. It's not that. It's like the temperature control in here is really difficult. So I'll be like boiling. Like the sun's coming through my window. I'm baking, and so I got to turn on the air conditioning.
No,
my air conditioner though is brand new. No. Freezes the balls off of me, and then I'm like, I'll turn it off. I can't get the temperature balance in here. Sorry.
I have to ask, as a Texan, what is boiling for you?
I have to say, as an English person, that pretty much anything where the ice starts turning into a liquid again.
Dude, man, this summer has been crazy. It's been like 110. sometimes like what in the
Oh wait, I
world?
got to do the conversion. I got to do the conversion though.
Oh,
Now
I don't know
I
what that
seem to
is.
remember 100 degrees is about 40 degrees. I seem to remember that. I might be wrong on that.
110 Fahrenheit to
Yeah, you do.
Celsius.
Give me.
43.3 degrees.
Holy balls. It gets up to that occasionally here, but maybe once or twice a year.
Okay.
And this year was more consistently hot, but I don't think we actually. I think we only got over 40 once this year. But it's been pretty much a consistent sort of 33 to 37 sort of territory throughout the summer, which for me is like death. So I guess that's got to be in the probably the 90s in Fahrenheit, I guess. But yeah, I mean, when I was growing up in England, I remember like we'd be like, oh, it's over 20, it's summer, and then it get up to like 25. You go, oh, it's a hot day. The idea of it getting to 30 was just like, whoa, 30 degrees. Like, oh, it's 30 degrees outside. Be really careful. It's 30 degrees. And I come here and it's like, yeah, Howard, you're gonna die. Yay! But I had been like, I remember one time like years ago, back in like 2003, I think it was. I was playing with my band in North Carolina, and we were out at a place called Ocracoke Sound, which was like so it's like kind of this like beach area, and we were playing live on the beach. And I'd never been in heat like that before, but it was kind of a dry heat as well, so I don't really feel it. I remember I'm just playing, and anyone who's a bit squeamish, you might want to skip ahead by like 30 seconds here. I was just playing. I look down. I'm like, it's having fun with my friends. Look down. There's like just this red stuff dripping all over me, and I noticed that my nose had just started bleeding because of the heat.
Yeah. That's gonna
and
happen.
like
It's
the
nasty, but yeah.
heat
Did you power
like,
through? Did you power through, or did you stop?
I did.
There you go.
Although
Was
the
this a
bassist
metal
was
band?
kind of like, dude, are you okay? No, we were kind of like it was I want to say it was punky, but we tried to throw in lots of different things, and it was really kind of light-hearted as well. Like it was quite. The bassist was like the funniest guy alive. He was from North Carolina, so it was kind of like his home show we were playing. And he was so funny. He just looked across at me like, dude, are you all right? I'm like, oh, no, yes. It was like, maybe. And then we powered through it, and he found some tissues in like his bass bag. Yeah, just remember, teenage bassist. I don't want to know where those tissues have been. Anyway.
Yeah. So now you also do work promoting bands. There's one particular, DaDaDa Dames, I think.
Yes.
So tell me how you got involved in that.
I just want to point out, by the way, what I really love about this whole video is because I saw the thumbnail. I like the fact that rather than starting with my ugly face, you brought in the viewers the good old-fashioned way. Show them 5 young, attractive women. That'll get people into the view.
Well, yeah, that's what we do, man.
Oh, yeah. So no, so that was an interesting one. So I for one of my other myriad of channels, I got this channel called Lyric Learner, which was supposed to be about lyrics and has just totally become about anime, even though I've never watched anime. Just like I watched one anime called Bocce the Rock, and then I started just like chatting about it, and like people really enjoyed it. So I was like, okay, I'll make a channel about this. But the funny thing is that was set in a lot of like real. I can see I'm going to go into a rant here, so I'm going to try and Howard focus on a direction that you want to talk about. So I that's set on a lot of real locations, and one of the funny ones was there was a live house called in there called so I'm trying to remember, the fake name is Starry, yeah, in the real life it's called The Shelter. And I sort of said, because I went to a few live houses, but I hadn't really done the local gig scene particularly in a while, especially over like the COVID period. That had just meant I wasn't going to local venues, and that kind of reignited I'm going to go back to local venues. So I went there to do a video there and show people what the venue looks like in real life. But while I was down there, get it in order. The reason why I went there originally was because a band who I'd been talking to, had been following online, like a pop group, were going to play a show, and I said, well, look, I'll go along to see it. So I went to see it, and then I noticed it was in the Shelter, and at the same time I was doing this channel, so I was like, oh, perfect opportunity. I was like, okay, I'll go to the Shelter. And then while I was there, I was in the audience, and because this venue, you never see overseas people in little Tokyo live houses. You just never do. You go and never see a foreign person. But In the Shelter, you'll probably see a couple just because it's famous for Bocce the Rock, and there's always like someone who's managed to get into a show. And there was a couple of foreign fellas there. I think one was German, one was American. And I was just chatting to them, and they were so funny, really cool. And we were talking about the various bands, and I was explaining because it was like one of those shows where several groups come up, play 20 minutes, play 20 minutes, play 20 minutes. And I only knew the one group I came to see, and they did a good show. That was all fine. And then there was just this moment where the music strikes up, and this really sort of like hard hitting, like but fun rock riff starts coming. I got my back to the stage. I'm like, good. It's good. I'm talking to these guys, and then they just start nodding their heads. And I turn around, and everyone who'd been kind of just sort of like bouncing along before was like really moving. And I look up on stage, and these these four girls come out dressed in these like very uniformed outfits with different color hairs, and they're just bouncing around the stage with this very different energy. Like everyone else, they got their dance moves down. These girls have got their dance moves down, but they look like they're bursting out of their choreography. You know, their facial expressions are crazy. They're having fun. And I'm like, what is this? And then the chorus kicks in. I'm like, this is good. I'm really enjoying this. And then the next song comes on. This is good and it's different. And they keep on doing this. And so after the show, I'm chatting to the band who I came to see. But I'm like, I need to find out who they are. And so I find out who they are, and I just immediately, like after the show, I went home and I sent this long email. I found their details, found who their manager was. I sent them this long email in Japanese saying, look, I explained the experience literally. I thought, I'm not going to just do this business email. I'm just going to approach her literally and say, look, this is what happened. This is what I experienced. And I said, I do this YouTube thing. I talk about music that people overseas will like. And I've got a good feel for what people overseas will like because I've been doing this for like, you know, a good number of years now. And I said, people will like what you've got here. Like you need to give me an opportunity to get this through to people. And I was expecting our like little indie record company, they're going to be so old fashioned and they're going to be, oh, YouTube, what's that? And I look at their online presence, everything's out of date, everything's a mess. I'm like, oh God.
Yeah, it was hard to find them on YouTube.
Yeah, and a lot of their data's out of date as well.
Oh.
But the thing is then I speak to her and she's like, yeah, okay, yeah, cool. And I'll just quickly add an additional story to that because it is kind of pertinent for how this progressed. So I said, well, look, I want to do an interview, but I want to make it a profile. You know, I want to do a profile where I interview them, and this is the interview that people have seen, the DaDaDa interview, which is the one that I met you through as well, because I wanted to get reactors. I wanted to find reactors who actually sounded honest rather than the hyperbole crew.
And so I wasn't paid to do this or anything. It was just like it sounded like a cool idea, and it was just really cool. Just help promote this small band or this small group. I mean, that's a quick thing, just to interrupt your story. So like a group like this, do you call them a band? Are they a group, or like does it matter? I mean, because they're playing at that point. They're singing to like as a backing track. Is that like?
Yes.
You don't call that J-pop because it's not J-pop, but it's kind of like they're singing and doing their choreography to just heavy music. Like what do you? Is there a term for that in Japan?
I think it's often awkwardly tried to stuff under this alt-idol label.
Like Bish.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely get although they're very different from Bish in a lot of ways, they have a lot of the intrinsic qualities that made Bish Bish. Yeah, oh man, some of their songs are, oh god, yeah, I really love Bish. But they know how to pull off a really good ballad as well, which I think is amazing. They got pop, they got ballads, they got rock. They are like they were, I should say, really complete package. And I'll be doing more follow-up videos on their sort of post-Bish careers as well, because I just find them so like fascinating. But yeah, the alt-idol thing has been very complicated. I mean, I guess you could put passcode in that, but our passcode that, or our passcode like more of a standard pop group? You know, is the term idol misused on a group like Passcode who don't really do the idol thing? It's like it's a very awkward term, and I think it's like most genres of music that you get. Like, for example, I'll be talking about something, and I'll say, you know, I'll be talking about a don't know, like a Love Bites song. I think Love Bites is one when this has come up, and I've said, oh, well, this song, I really like this. It's got this metal vibe in it, and someone will go, oh, no, that wasn't metal, that was actually hard rock. And it's like, so you know what I mean? It's like the definition that sometimes you listen to something and the definition is clear, and sometimes it's something which clearly borrows a lot. I mean, there is a line between hard rock and metal where I don't believe you can say it's one or the other. There is a crossover.
Yeah, I was thinking of the Love Bite song they could have been talking about. I was like, they might have been talking about "Don't Buy the Dust" or something, because a lot of their songs are pretty heavy metal, but they have some that are kind of like just rock. They just sound like just rock music,
I don't even think that how heavy something is really makes it metal or not. For me, what makes something more metal than hard rock is if the general balance of the guitar playing leans more towards riffs rather than chord structures. I would say that to me tends to indicate a focus on metal. But there's a lot of metal, you get like melodic metal where there's not really riffing, it's more like walking. So I think a lot of the time, these are definitions where if you go back to the source, like where it came from, if you go back to your Black Sabbaths and things, it's like easier to define it, because at that point the difference was a statement. It was like, we've created this thing. It's kind of different, and people could tell how.
And it was kind
but
of
now
one of a kind.
There's too much fusion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now everything's kind of evolved kind of from that, so it has changed quite a bit. And it's hard to define it, which takes us back to what we were talking about before. Like, how do you define a group like DaDaDa Dames? I mean, how do you do? It's I guess they're an idol. Are they idols?
Well, I mean, if you wanted to like sort of churn through all the literalisms, which might be the best way to start, is that they definitely, as a group, as people, as mechanically, they work as a idol group. That's the system by which they work under. Their music varies between. I don't think it. Some people have said that the song Balloon goes into a slightly metal territory. I think it does a little bit, but that's one of those songs where I'd say it's got a little bit of metal, but probably more hard rock. They got songs that are a bit punky. They got some songs which are just straight up into that sort of pop/rap area. They got quite a variation. I think they generally lean towards kind of like fun, upbeat, catchy rock, with kind of a hard edge. A lot of their rock songs have like good opening riffs and things like that. So I think, do you know what? I think most of the groups who I really like can't be put in a genre because they do songs that go outside of that. And, I mean, you look at most of the best bands in the world, you look at Band-Maid. One of the things that makes Band-Maid so great is that you can call them a hard rock group until the cows come home, but Start Over is not hard rock, Memorable is not hard rock, Page is not hard rock, About Us is not hard rock. They can do other things, and that's what I really like in a group. Is I like a group who can step outside of that. So in a way, I tend to find that the best groups, you'd probably struggle to give them a genre anyway.
And then they have songs like Black Hole, that are just like, it goes really hard, and it's like that's leaning towards more like metal territory. It's really our progressive metal, it's you have a poster of Gotrek Spin, and they are to this day, I don't even know how to fucking define them. There's my first F-bomb for the stream. I don't know how to define them because they have songs that are hard and freaking heavy, like on their new album, like Reverse Psychology, and what's the I don't really know what the title is.
Wait a second. Actually, I'm going to pull this out because I don't think I've shown this on stream yet. I'm just going to grab this real quick.
All right.
So I got the first. One of my beloved followers sent me like the first pressing of W, and I got this framed because it comes with the full size poster. So I got the big poster as well.
Hey, I got the poster too.
You got this one.
Now with I got it from instead of saying W.
Too big to put in the background.
Instead of saying W, it says Anime Matsuri on it.
Oh, you got the one from the Anime Matsuri. Yeah, some people went to that. I was so jealous. I actually had the chance to see Gotrek Spin the other day, but literally, the problem is I run this channel at a little bit of a financial deficit. And I literally didn't have the 3,000 yen to see Gotrek Spin, and I was so upset. That killed me that I didn't see them. But I will see them sometime soon. Plus, hashtag no bias, Angie for the win. Love Angie. I mean, I love them all, but Angie just like she's amazing. I
Angie's
love
man,
that girl.
she has so much energy there. I mean,
Hmm.
man, but it's hard to define them because like they have song. I don't know, like lock on and like okay, what is lock on? Is it rock? Is it?
But
I mean, does it even matter?
This is what I mean. I feel like for genres, they're good as references. So, for example, I'll listen to something and I'll say, oh, this song has a jazzy quality, or maybe it's got like a swing rhythm, or maybe it's got a metal riff at the beginning. I think we're at that point, especially with Japanese bands, where one of the big things that makes Japan stand out is that it has this carefree fusion of genres. Like you go to other countries, and I've said this before, there's like 3 genres where this comes up the most, which is probably metal, rap, and punk, where people say the line, "Oh, that's not metal," or "That's not rap," or "That's not punk," and I really it's like, what the fuck is your point? Sorry, I said I'd start swearing if I get, but I was like,
you
what?
can swear.
No, it's like, tell me what you're actually trying to tell me. It's like, it's not metal. So the fuck what? It's like, is it good? Can you define it in those terms? And this is kind of the thing, is in Japan, you don't have to bother with that conversation. It's just you listen to the music and people it's like, oh, they had a jazz breakdown. They just like it. And that freedom is one of the things I love about Japanese music, is they're so free from that bloody tramline. I'm not saying everyone's like this in other countries, but there is a certain group of people who have very loud mouths who do this in other countries. And I'm sure anyone who's watching this is probably... Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, if anyone's watching your channel, because I've seen the things you've said on your channel before, so if anyone's watching your channel, they're probably not that kind of person, which means they've probably met that kind of person and probably know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, UK is very much like that as well. There's some great people in the UK, but there's a lot of people who's like, oh, yeah, that's not punk. So,
I'll show you what real punk is.
Yeah, it's like, I'm sorry, were you not interested in the music? Did you just want to wear the fashion? Is that what you were interested in? Maybe go work at Ann Summers or something, then you weirdo.
Right. You got to look the part.
Yeah, God.
That's what's crazy. When looking the part is more important than anything else. And you know,
I think talking of looking the part, this picture says it all. It's like, look at Angie and Tomo. Tell me what genre they are from their clothes. That's a good point. Show this picture to someone and say, what genre is that? What genre is that?
I guarantee you, if you take that picture and ask the average American, they would be like, they would probably say pop. They might say a kids pop. They might say, I mean, just seeing how colorful it is, they would probably say it's some sort of kids music group, probably.
I think there was also that point with like the because you had the old 90s boy bands where there was always the one who was the cool one and the one who was the cute one. Yeah, they could come off a grist spot like that, couldn't they? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a girls band.
I've been caught out by this as well. I mean, one of my favorite Japanese bands, very much in the poppier direction, is Silent Siren. And you know, I remember the first time I listened to Silent Siren, who you might not have come across them, but they were kind of like a poppy leaning rock and roll band. They had input in their songs, but they weren't the central writers. They had a writer who wrote those songs. And they were just very fun and upbeat, really just good music, and they were fantastic musicians, but you know, more musicians than personalities than anything else. And I remember the first time I saw them, about 4 or 5 years ago, I was just sitting on the train, and I love this because music is a big industry here. So you'll be sitting on the train, and often you'll just see adverts, like banner adverts for, oh, this band or this tour. You know, you see adverts for music all over the place. And there was an advert for this thing, Silent Siren, and I was seeing it around a lot. And I was like, it looked so bubblegum. So I was like, I'm just going to check this out on my channel because it's going to be, no one had recommended it. I was like, I'm going to check this out because it's going to be really weird. And I remember before I did the reaction, I was like, look, I'm not expecting to see anyone playing instruments. I'm not expecting to, I just want to see what this is. And then it just starts off with da 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 da, and slap bass starts coming in. I'm like, whoa, okay. And it just turned out it was Fujiyama Disco. It was the first song I listened to by them, which I think is the one that ingratiates them most to musicians, because that's the one where the musicianship's really front and center. But it was just so cool. And I remember listening and thinking, yeah, Howard, even you, the supposed man in Japan, even you were talking shit about that, you know, saying, "Oh, it's probably not going to be real music," and it came on and blew my socks off. And that was one of the things that turned me into a fan because I was just so happy that I was so surprised. I love groups like that, Siren, Bish, who you can like get one idea in your head and then you listen to it as like, nope, nope, you were wrong. You didn't see that coming.
Well, I do appreciate that story because it shows how like even you have those moments, and of course even I have those moments. We all have those moments where like even though I'm a reactor and I react to a lot of Japanese bands, and at this point I'm like I learned to just kind of be more open minded because when I first reacted to Gotrek Spin, it was kind of like it was very different. It was very weird, but at the same time though, the song Lock On as compared to everything else I had seen before, I'm gonna say the word. The word I thought at the time was goofy. Don't take that the wrong way. For anyone
No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah,
no, you gotta think. Like I had never seen anything like that before. You know, I thought Tomozo, the guitarist, I thought she was like cosplaying as a witch from like Final Fantasy or something. I had no idea what she was doing. I was like, what is this? I just
this is in the burger outfit days as well for Oreo.
And I don't think Oreo was wearing a. I don't think she was in the music video. She wasn't there yet, was she? I'm not sure. I don't remember.
She might have just had one of a million different hairstyles, or dressed up as a food item or something.
But even is like it was like it's just so different. I don't. Is it okay to like this? Is this what it is? But the music was so good that it convinced me otherwise. So
they're like a really prime example of just how good music can be. And I'll just quickly say, because you mentioned about the word goofy. I mean, a word that I use that sometimes people get really upset about, but I can't think of a better word, and I don't think it's a bad word. Is I often talk about a gimmick. I don't think a gimmick is a bad thing. I mean, a gimmick on top of a quality item is just clever marketing. I mean, I have referred to bandmaids' maid outfits as being a gimmick, but I think it's a good gimmick.
Argue it is.
It has no actual purpose within the music, and yet it's something that's there to make them noticeable, interesting, weird, and different, and I like it. So, and the whole Miku, I'm not going to say it's a gimmick because she's really an 810-year-old pigeon. It's the truth.
I had this discussion with another reactor, David Heretic. Well, we got along pretty well over the gimmick thing, and I think the word comes off so cheaply. I think when someone hears the word gimmick, it's kind of seen as like this negative word, like you're just dismissing it as being cheap, just being a trick just to get by. But at the same time, there's a lot of very popular bands, a lot of bands that people really like that use gimmicks all the time to separate themselves from everyone else. Like Slipknot. I mean, the masks, the suits, that's just a gimmick.
That is a gimmick.
It works well because horror and metal, I mean, they're made for each other. Those you cannot pick two better genres to merge together. Like, it writes itself. And
you look at so many metal videos and they use like horror tropes. It's such a popular thing in metal videos. Even fucking baby metal, you got like three girls from Sakura Gakuen up on stage and it's sticking them on crosses and having crucifixes and demon masks and stuff. You're like, we're doing metal now, I guess.
Those are legendary baby metal death performances, which we'll probably never ever see ever again. Definitely on a U.S. tour, though they would have some balls.
Yeah. I was about to say. I know folks over there. They're not so big on that. But,
I would have been cool with it, but whatever.
Yeah.
But didn't he have a lady baby or whatever it was, baby beard? Oh, that's total gimmick right there.
Well,
the dude who.
So Lady Baby went through. I mean, Lady Baby's such a weird thing because, of course, you had first of all right, let's go for it. First, we had Lady Baby with the dude. I've got to be honest. It was funny I think most people agree with me. If you look at the view statistics, like Nippon Manju had really high views, and then the song that came out directly afterwards, very low views and just like nothing. And it was like, okay, it's funny, but it's like I don't need a whole album of this. And then they became the artist formerly known as Lady Baby when that guy, I think, had to go back. That was really interesting. Then they formed as a full-on group, which became Lady Baby again, which was my favorite iteration. Then they broke up again, but now they're coming back, but without Emily because she's in passcode. And I think the two are in like Rie is now a separate thing. So I don't know who's going to be in this form of Lady Baby, but you got Rie. My brain.
And then the dude's
says,
back
hey, do you
now.
like Lady Baby? I'm like, which one? Oh, no, he's back in a different group, but he's
Baby
in a
Beard.
group which
I think they're called Baby Beard. Or
yeah.
Something.
Now, there was a funny, I'll tell you about this funny incident. I think a few people know about this. I'm going to say it anyway.
All right.
So when that Baby Beard thing came out, right? I knew this. I knew it before I did it, but I'm honest on my channel, and this is proof. Name Lady Beard. He was doing interviews with a lot of YouTube channels. He was basically going to all the reactors and appearing on their channels doing interviews, which was a very good idea for marketing. And so therefore, I'm pretty sure I could have got him for an interview if I wanted. But I listened to the song and I looked at the marketing and I had to be honest. I did a video going, this is cynical, this is poor. It's like, it's just recreating something you did 10 years earlier, but doing it worse. It's like, this is not good. It's just, you know, the name is confusing. You haven't clarified the branding. And I did a whole video about why it was just felt like a rehash and it had no identity of its own. It was like, dude, it's a bit weird that you've gone back, found two new young girls and just done the same thing again. It's like, is this really all you have to offer? Because if it is, you should stop. I was like, that is like, I did it in a nice way because honestly, he seems like a really nice guy, and I think he would have a career if he just turned up as a TV personality. Just turn up, be on TV, be on those Japanese panel shows and everything. But if literally you're just going to do the same thing over and over again,
as the dude.
Yeah. That would work in Japan. That's
Dude
the sort
Idol?
of thing they would enjoy.
Yeah.
They'd find that fun, and maybe like they could have idol groups come on, do their songs, and then he just jumps in and sings with them. You know, they could have fun. He could do like a comedy thing, but it's like, do something like that. But if you want to do music, you've got to have more than one thing. Keep the gimmick, but musically stop giving us the same band with almost exactly the same name, because it just shows you didn't think of anything new to do.
It's kind of weird.
By the way, I can't see the chat on this video. I wonder if I'm getting
there's
any hate yet.
no chat really. Sorry to say.
It's gonna be a watch back one.
You know what? I should have thrown BABYMETAL and band-maid in the title somehow. I should have done that.
Yeah, do you know what? Post edit. Wait, what I'm gonna do right now is I'm going to remind everyone, because the problem is that I don't like, my English folk will all be asleep at this point. So I'm going to remind everyone in my Discord. This is great because this is all part of the interview. Live now. You're missing it, people.
Yeah.
Because I posted that when I thought everyone was awake, but I think distinctly they weren't. That's the problem with having followers. All in
a lot
countries.
of these streams get more views like after the fact and all that stuff. And I notice a lot of my reaction videos get more views. I guess whenever people are up in Japan. So I guess around now.
Yeah,
actually. So,
yeah. It's weird. I think this is one of the things that actually, I'll be honest. I mean, I stopped doing reaction videos for a few reasons, and you know, certain people it suits better than others. And again, one of the reasons why I contacted you, only contacted a small number of people, is we said when we did the DaDaDa's reaction, we didn't want reactors who were either hyperbolic. We didn't want ones who wanted to be paid because we couldn't be assured that it was an honest response. And I literally did not want to know how people felt about the song. I wanted honest reactions. I wanted that, and we wanted and so we were like, I was 100%, he's the guy to go to. So I was really kind of pleased about that. But yeah, the whole reaction format, it's one that I kind of steered away from. But one of the things I really like about it, getting back onto the point, is that it is kind of a universal language. Although I now do the reviews, when you've got a reaction, you can have someone who doesn't speak a word of English and they can look at you, they can see your reaction, they can hear your tone of voice, and they can kind of like get, oh, okay, so people in other countries are enjoying it. So I think there is kind of a weird enjoyment that even people who don't speak English can get out of that. So I suspect, you probably get a lot of Japanese viewers who are just watching it like, people like it, and then they'll be listening
probably.
to your words like, oh, he said this, and picking up words like trying to go, oh, I wonder what he thinks, and like, yeah. So
Yeah,
just a lot of
I
that.
think so too. Like, I have an interview coming up with like Whiskey Dust. I'm excited about that. I'm
I've heard that name.
they're a band in Japan. It's really just like two chicks, but there's a backing band to them.
Oh, sweet.
And I was like surprised that they agreed. First off, language barrier. I don't speak any Japanese and all that.
It's gonna be like the most awkward interview ever.
Yeah. So probably not gonna live stream that one. Gonna just record it and play it and hope for the best. Hope for the best. It should be good.
Can you get like one of those little Japanese language beginners guides and just like when the interview starts, just slowly bring it up from the bottom and go, Konnichiwa.
We're gonna speak in emojis. That's. How are you feeling today? So happy face, sad face.
That's genius, actually. We were talking about getting ahead of marketing. You are the future. You are the future. Get ahead of it. Get ahead of it right now. I think that is really cool. Actually, when I was interviewing DaDaDams, so my Japanese is slow. It's not particularly articulate. It's slow. To be honest, I'm embarrassed. Considering how long I've been here, I'm embarrassed at my Japanese. But I am trying to get it better. But the thing is so when I did the interview, I had a Japanese friend with me who basically, friend of the channel, lovely guy. He was there to basically make sure the conversation went smoothly. But I had lined up, so I did the interview with all of them, but then I would take each one separately and do like now it's your personal bit, which was kind of fun, and sit them down. The rest of the band would be behind the camera to make them laugh, and they would sit with like just a light and a camera pointing to their face. And then I put a screen in front of them and I'd automated for questions to come up, and I would sort of switch between them. And then they had to answer the questions quick fire. And they all had the same questions, but for each member, I threw in a bit where they would get a question. So they would know at some point during the run of questions, they would get a question that would be different from the rest of the members. And for one of them, I had the member Mepa. I had something suddenly came up on the screen saying Mepa challenge. And it was just like, she's like, Mepa challenge, what is Mepa challenge? And it just suddenly she had like two pictures appear and she had to pick a favorite as quickly as possible. And it was always like a Japanese thing and a foreign thing, because I know she'd lived abroad. So it would be like, do you want a holiday in like New York or Okinawa? I was like, do you want the burger or the ramen? And these were flashing up. And that was like, she loved that. She had so much fun. And that was like one of the most popular parts of the interview, because she was just like giggling. And so I decided I'm going to start doing that in more interviews.
You know
like,
what?
Doing, like, these
I
little
kind of had a similar idea. I was like coming up with questions what to ask this band. I was like, you know what? The guitarist has to know legendary guitarists and other bands. I'm just going to be like, Black Sabbath, Deep Purple. Which one? Okay.
You should do that.
The Beatles or Elvis? Which one? Okay.
I'll franchise my formula to you. All you have to do is pay me the low price of $100,000 a minute.
All right. I'll write that shit.
Go for it.
It might get lost in the mail though, so don't be. You'll be waiting for a while.
It's all right. I've been waiting for a lot of checks for a lot of time, my friend.
But we've been going for a good while. But let me ask you this: like, how is it over there in Japan? How's life over there in Japan?
That's a fair question. It's a broad question. I guess if I was hitting on because obviously I met people who've come from other countries here, and I have friends come from other countries, and these certain questions you often hear. One of the things that struck me the very first time I came here, it's just so weird. People don't think about this. One of the very first things I noticed. I'll try and refine this to 3 points. The first things I noticed when I got off the plane when I first came here, the very first time, was remember looking at the floor and just being blown away by how clean it was. It was like I could eat my dinner off of this out in the street. And it is true that like it's so clean. Like Japan is so clean. So that's one of the first things I noticed. I've noticed a lot of other people say that when they first arrive. It's like, wow, where is the rubbish? Where is the rubbish?
How do they keep it clean? I mean, I guess a lot of work.
I think as well. There's the like social responsibility that like if you got seen dropping rubbish, you would feel guilty because everyone else would see you and they'd be like, oh, but what? I actually remember this is quite near to my house. I was walking down an alleyway, and it's between. It's like a shortcut to go into the back of this like shopping mall that I needed to go into. And I'm walking down the alleyway, and this guy coming the other way. He's a fairly young fella, probably in college or whatever, and he's smoking. And then I just sort of see him like sort of like, just drop like the box behind him, and then he looks up, he sees me, and he stops, and he quickly runs back and picks it up. And he's like, "You knew you dropped that. You knew you dropped that." But the minute he saw me notice him, and this is like in one of those alleyways, no one's going to go down it. It's like a shortcut that you have to kind of know it's there. So he was clearly, there's some people like that. But as a general, you just don't see rubbish on the street. So people are pretty good about holding on to our stuff. The other thing as well that comes up is a lot of people talk about Japan being expensive, and I think that is actually a falsehood. I mean, obviously now the yen's weaker; it's comparatively cheaper than it used to be. But I mean, obviously, I came here directly from London, which is one of the few cities where actually generally things get much more expensive than Tokyo. Like London's probably one of the most expensive.
Yeah, here it's pretty expensive in the UK.
Yeah, well, London, not the rest of the UK, just London. Okay. But the funny thing is that kind of similarly to London, but more so, Japan and Tokyo, well, actually, no, all of Japan is both extremely expensive and extremely cheap. It's all down to local knowledge. Because as anyone who knows me, I don't have much money. I live pretty well because if you know where to go, you can get anything super cheap. You know, and we're right on the doorstep of China, so you can get like mass-produced anything. The 100 yen shops do amazing ranges of stuff. I mean, it's incredible, like the deals you can get on things here. So it's weird. People think it's very expensive, but if you take them to the right places, they suddenly go, "Oh wow, it's so cheap." And you go, "Yeah, yeah." You just need to know where to go. So that's another falsehood that people sometimes think about. But I think just Japan, and the other one as well, this took me a long time to get used to because of London, the feeling of safety. I mean, it's amazing. Like in London, there's certain areas where it's not that bad. Certain areas where you just feel a bit uncomfortable, and like you go out at night and you really keep yourself to yourself. You know, you get a night bus, you just sort of like stay somewhere where the driver can see you. Just sort of keep your head down, don't draw attention. Just get the bus, go home, stay quiet. But here, like I can go jogging by the river at like 2:00 in the morning. Not a fear in the world. So I wouldn't do that in London. I'd be worried about coming across a drug dealer or something.
Right.
Here,
right.
just go jogging.
You don't have to worry about being mugged
river.
or...
Yeah. No lights, in the dark, on a pathway by the river where my body could be dumped easily at 2:00 in the morning. I remember the first time I was just like jogging one like night. I was jogging by the river and like by the Sumidagawa, jogging down there. It was like one of the areas in Minami Senju, for anyone who knows, round by the sort of the peninsula of that bit. And that's that park area. There's no lights. You're down on the verge. And I was just going, "Oh, it's beautiful." And I suddenly thought, shit, if I did this in London, I'd be dead by now. So there would be some kind of drug deal going on around here. This is too perfect for like dealing drugs.
Not only would you be dead,
no way
dude,
that this area would be so
you would
cool.
have been disappeared, your body and all.
Yeah,
you'd vanish from the earth. Like, whatever happened to Howard? Wow.
They wouldn't even bother with a police report. Just see the security camera. Oh, he went down there. Well, he fucking deserved it then, didn't he? You know?
And he disappeared. He's the invisible man now. That's what's going on. Oh man.
So yeah, those are like probably the most touristy observations, but I think those are ones that people sometimes don't really get. But yeah, I mean, obviously those things, it's not for everyone. You know, some people would come here and they wouldn't love it. It depends what you like. I'm not saying that everyone would love Japan.
City.
I really
want to feel
they would.
safe, and I can hunt down for some cheap stuff. So
yeah, if you're a bargain hunter who just likes things to be simple, it's a great place. I mean, yeah, there's bureaucracy.
Where
when
can
it
I
comes
get
to
the cheap
paperwork,
beer?
Japan's awful, but...
Like where can I find the cheap bar? Okay.
Well, it depends. If you want canned beer, here's my recommendation. If you want canned beer, go to any of the Aeon or My Basket, which belongs to Aeon supermarkets, and they have something called Bar Real, which everyone will know me talking about this before, where the cans used to be 120 yen for 500 mils, which is... I found out a US pint is different from a UK pint. Like a UK pint is over 500 mil, a US pint is less. But anyway,
wow,
it's apparently. But yeah, so it's around and about what most people consider be a pint.
I want a UK
for
pint.
120 yen. Yeah. you just remember, if you get a UK pint, you have our beautiful warm beer. Give you a moment to take that one in. But yeah, about that, and then if you want to get, unfortunately, like beers in izakayas, you have to. Okay, here's the thing: if you want to find a cheap izakaya or a cheap drinking place, I know people hate this, but the biggest advice I'd give to tourists: walk around, find a place where nothing is written in English, because it will be cheaper. It'll probably be more fun, and you'll get a vibe. If you walk through the door and the staff are staff are usually pretty nice. If they're kind of helpful, sit you down. They might well have an English menu, but the truth is they'll probably want to help you, partly because they want your money, and partly because they'll just be intrigued, like, foreigners don't usually come in here. It's always works out, but people tend to you get people are like, I'm in Japan, I want a coffee, I think I'll go to Starbucks. So what the fuck are you doing?
No, I would not go to Starbucks. No, I want whatever coffee I just want to get something local or whatever, Come on. No, I would probably go to a McDonald's because their menu does look different.
That's the other one I was going to say.
Their menu looks different from a American one, but that's not the first place I'll go. That'd be like, all right, are you? I don't think they'll allow me to wander around drunk as a traveler there. Okay, so I don't know what happens, but
so long as you don't do anything wild, I think you'll get away with it. I
bar
must
hopping,
admit,
find a McDonald's that's open 24 hours. I don't know if they have it over there. Get some of the.
So like in different countries you have your drinking food, because so in the UK you drink, and then when you're completely trashed on the stumble home, you go into a kebab shop, because Turkish kebab men are everywhere, and kebab is like the perfect way of like fixing your stomach damage, although you wake up in the morning and the grease will murder you. But good old-fashioned kebab, great way of doing it. Now in the US, I know that you I was going to say drive-through. Don't do that.
It's going to be drive-through, right? I mean,
not when you're drinking, please. Not when.
But
unless you've got a designated driver, I guess. But yeah. I'm not condoning
I'm
it,
not
dude.
telling any stories or anything. Oh, look, I'll put it this way: there's a lot of people that go to bars, right? They drive themselves. How do they leave those bars?
I was in North Carolina when I'll be honest, I was in North Carolina when one of my, I'm not going to say who it was, but someone in our band's elder relative came along and said, I'm here to take you home. I have a couple more drinks first, though. And we got into the car. I was like, oh, dear God. It was the slowest and wobbliest drive home ever. Luckily, that was in North Carolina. There were no other cars for most of the journey, but still. So I know it happens. But yeah, I mean, so you go for the fast food. But the interesting thing is because of the way the drinking culture works in Japan and Asia, they tend not to have that because they eat while they drink. So you have like, izakayas, you have like the small food, like little thing on a stick, so you order a drink and you get a little platter of those like yakitoris or something and eat those and just have a little bit, like little skewers of meat. And it just kind of keeps you going. And that's when you see all the salaryman wobbling out of the bar, like pissed off their faces, like, And then, you see that sometimes. If you go to any of the drinking areas, there'll be one extremely shameful-looking man curled up in like a shop doorway, like recovering like this. And you could tell the poor guy's overdone it. He was probably trying to impress one of the cute girls who worked in the printing department. And then now he's regretting his life choices. The phone calls from his wife are coming in, wondering why he didn't get the last train. And
well, if he has a wife, he probably shouldn't be trying to impress the other girl.
I'm painting a picture for you, my friend.
I understand. Man, I have so many other questions too that just kind of popped in.
Yeah, go for it.
Go
for it. Yeah,
we're
here.
Living in Japan and being immersed in the music scene. It seems as a reactor that a lot of these bands kind of like seem to know each other. Kind of, it seems like a small community. Is that a good way to describe it? Like do these bands really know each other like that? Or
I've been trying to get my head around how this works for a while. I think there is a lot of. I mean, for example, I did an interview with a lady called Fram, who is a solo pop singer, but she was also in this band called Unwave. Now, now there's two connections to her, which are really funny. The first one was I also was a fan of a band who are now, they changed their name, they're now called Folia. And I was a fan of Unwave. And then just suddenly, I did the interview with Fram, and I saw Unwave in like really close proximity, and I suddenly went, "Oh shit, they got the same bassist." And I didn't realize it was the same woman was the bass player for both bands. And I just remember posting it on like Twitter, like, "It's the same woman," and like all the members from both bands were like liking it. Like, how did he not notice? I was like, I didn't recognize she was the same woman in both bands. I was like, she's really distinctive looking. It just didn't occur to me. So you got things like that where a lot of musicians will be in multiple bands when they're coming up. But the other thing as well, I was talking to Fram and she was just like, so after the interview finished, we were just like having a chat about like contacts, and we had this similar question. I was like joking about the fact, finding out your bassist was also the same bassist for 4 year, for 4 year. And she was like, "Oh yeah, well, like it was my birthday the other day, and I was hanging out with like my closest friend growing up, Midori." And she showed me it's like Midori from Lovebites, and it's just like a picture of her and Midori, like with like birthday cake or whatever. I'm like, okay. And it's just like your music is so different, and you just kind of realize it's not even like they don't care about the genre boundaries. They're just like, "Oh, you play these shows." I mean, Lovebites, like one example, but then you look at like Band-Maid and Silent Siren and Bish, the members of all three of those bands regularly seen together. This is why Band-Maid did that video dancing to Koi no Esper by Silent Siren.
Oh, okay.
There's a really, you should check that out. They do all the dance moves and everything. And of course, like I say, Silent Siren are really poppy. And if you haven't seen it, by the way, wait till this video ends, of course, people.
Okay, yeah.
But do check out, if you just type in Silent Siren Band-Maid, you'll probably find it straight away. But just the members of Band-Maid dancing to Koi no Esper is so funny. They learned the dance moves and everything is really cool. But yeah, because they were just friends, you've got Misa goes out drinking with Einyan. The two bassists are, I think, just bassists have like alcohol problems or something, because the two bassists from both bands are hardcore drinkers. I love that. And I don't really know that I would be confident to say I have a definitive answer, but I think there is just this thing where, okay, if I were to take a guess, and this might sound like a judgmental guess, but I think there is such a distinct lack of ego in these bands and in Japan that as a general, it's not like when they go on tour, when they do shows together, it's not like each band's like, "Oh, we're gonna do our thing." It tends to be like each band's like, "Oh yeah, can we hear what you're doing?" And they have a little chat and they're just like chatting like friends. It's very low ego, and I can't help but feel that just sort of like oils the gears, if you like, of more communication.
Yeah,
so
cool.
when they're doing tours together, they all hang out together. Maybe also because there's less of there is a celebrity culture here, but as a general, people are less scared to go out and like maybe have drinks together. So they tend to socialize more. It might be that.
I guess you don't have to worry about fans overreacting. Like they don't have to worry about that so much.
They're less likely to have fans walking up to them outside the show and just like sticking their nose in and going, "Oh, sorry, this for me." Fans would probably be, at worst, you just get someone sneaking photographs and stuff. But that's about it.
That's pretty cool, man. So wait,
I don't I don't have a definitive answer.
Yeah.
I just know that it's very true. But I can't help but feel, and I could be biased. There's obviously a bit of a Japanophile. I'm living it. I probably am biased here. I just feel that the lack of ego and just there's a sense of wanting friendship in the community. Whereas a lot of Western bands, they look like they're just like. But then again, you see like a lot of those Western bands when eventually they do chill out and get a bit older. A lot of them become really good friends. Like there's a tour happening at the moment where it's like. Offspring, Sum 41, Simple Plan, they're all just touring together and they just seem to be hanging out like friends. It's like all the sort of the like latter day punk bands just chilling out together. And so it seems like a lot of those bands
which is the opposite of what they were doing back then. Yeah,
they're all like rivals and against each other at that time, weren't they? Which
you even have Megadeth and Metallica trying to work together. I mean, they could share same space. There's still some issues, I guess. I would imagine. I don't know.
I mean, for the English folks, obviously, like the most famous like battle ever, the whole Blur and Oasis thing. But it was like Noel Gallagher and Damon Albarn. They did some songs together, like several years later. And of course, not with Liam Gallagher, obviously, because he's the one who ran up to Damon and punched him in the face. But yeah, apart from that,
it's hard to get over that. Yeah, it's hard to get over getting punched in the face.
But you know, it's really kind of.
You got close to seeing Midori though. That's what I'm jealous about. You knew someone who knew Midori. You're like so close to meeting her in real life. And
well, this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking. I know Fram, who knows Midori. Neon has open communication with Fami, so I'm wondering if I can use this. Like that Ghostbusters thing where you bring in the streams. I'm like, if I bring in both the streams, can I capture me a Love Bites?
He's gonna get like backstage pass to like Love Bites and some shit. Look at this guy.
we got
no biggie.
What I'm thinking is we got like really good interviews. I've got like 5 interviews coming up in the next couple of weeks that I'm doing. Like a lot of interviews. We've got Kotono Hataraz. We got Tone Spoon, we got I Love Me. We're going to be working with, obviously, we've got the next 2 members of DaDaDa. We've got Rum Kicks. We're going to be interviewing a lot of groups. And I'm just thinking, because of what we were talking about with all the connections, I can't imagine what connections would be there. And we're talking to some bigger bands as well. But I'm thinking, once we've got those ones down and proof of concept, it's going to be easier for us to talk more and more bands. But I'm going to keep talking to the big bands and the small bands. You know, for me, it's not about just sort of walking up the ladder. It's about like, Japan music is a huge plethora of interesting things. The small bands are great. I mean, Tone Spoon, who we're interviewing, they're going to do we get these bands to do exclusive live performances for us as well. So we'll do the interview and then they'll play a song especially for the channel. And they're giving us like apparently they're going to do 2 exclusives off their new EP and everything. So like I'm just looking at I'm like this is like a band who everyone knows. Their first songs were really great and I'm just so excited that I'm able to bring their new songs. I can't imagine what it's going to sound like. Who knows? But bring that to people. And those little things are going to be great ways to bring up like networks. And I think this is why it's important for people like you and I to network as well, because we're all in this community together. And I think it's really important that as a community, people like you, Reactor, Matt, Benedict, Neon, that we're all communicating and stuff because it's a community of people and we're all going to have contacts just like those bands have contacts. So in the same way they communicate with each other, I think it's good for us to communicate with each other. And I think it's good to have that network of people who just all want to do good things for Japanese music. And just music as a general, but obviously my focus is on Japan. But I think that's important. I think it's important that stuff like this happens, that people like us are talking and that we're right. We're sharing that kind of stuff. So
yeah, I totally agree on that. And you're right. It's not just about the big bands, but the small bands too. I mean, I react to Love Bites, BABYMETAL, bandmaid on sometimes.
They're awesome.
But I also react to like, what's the name? Oh, Arc. Oh man, I'm forgetting a space on the name. Arc Royal? Arc Rival. I think that's their name. I'm spacing on the name right now. I'm not.
I might not know. Yeah.
Valkyrie. Valkyrie is a Japanese band I discovered not too long ago. I was like, whoa, who are they? They play like thrash metal. They sound pretty cool.
I've heard of them, but I don't know them. But I've heard that name. I heard there's a band called Valkyrie, but I don't know anything about them.
Let's see. Let me get this band name here. The guy who sends me these reactions, he's gonna be mad that I got it wrong.
I get that sometimes. Someone recommends something to me and then I just totally get everything about it wrong. And they're like, Howard, did you not read my message? I'm thinking, I forgot. I'm stupid. Give me a break. My brain is small. Allow me some remittance.
Arc Royal. Arc Royal's the name.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So those smaller groups. And I react to them too because I think it's worthwhile. I like the music.
I think so there's a thing I started doing on my channel, which I was recommended to do it. So I did a video a while ago where I was talking about basically just like my breakdown of bands who are on the up and up who I think you should watch. But I was talking about bands who are still relatively well known, like Gatric Spin. They're not massive, but they're well known. Trident, the likes of these kind of bands. And then someone said, Howard, why don't you talk about like the really unsigned bands that no one's heard of? And I thought, I don't know, is anyone going to watch that? And I was like, I want to do it, But like these videos, like doing these videos where I give like a lot of recommendations, the editing takes a long time. I have to get lots of sources. And I thought, is that going to be something where I'm going to put that out and then I'm going to get like 50 views? And then if I do that, I don't need big views to do a video, but it's like, if it's going to be something where it's like less than 100 views, I'm going to be thinking to myself, well, okay, was that worth the hours I put into it?
Yeah, but you kind of want...
I started actually doing it. I did start doing it, and it's been one of the most rewarding and successful series on the channel. Yeah. I was really happy about that. I was so happy when I got like over 1,000 views for one of them. I was like, there you go. So people actually care about this.
Yeah, I was just thinking here. I was like, yeah, I mean, you could do one where like you have maybe some bands that are kind of more known, but then you kind of put in there some bands that are not known, so that way they kind of like it kind of lifts them up too. I don't know.
I mean, you could do. I thought that probably would actually be a wiser move, but I thought I'd go whole hog and make every single one of them less than 5,000 subs. But the truth is almost all the groups I've covered on that series are less than 1,000 subs.
Oh wow!
So, they're like, I mean, I covered one the other day that had 46 subs, and like everyone was like, yeah, this is really cool, and it's amazing. Like, I'm getting more views on the videos than some of these bands actually have subs on their channel. And, like, so I'll contact the bands after.
Was one of them Cran Arcanaria?
It was not, unless I got the pronunciation really wrong. I don't think I know that one. Link me. If you've got any cool ones, link me and I'll do an episode.
Cool.
Ideas I stole from Rant.
No.
No, they're mine. Go away, Englishman.
Cran Arcanaria, they're pretty cool. I'll share them with you.
Arcanaria, yeah. So it's probably people who are going to be watching this are going to be like, "Oh, it's going to check out Arcanaria."
It's all good. No problem with that. I don't think.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking forward.
I know you're just joking around, but I think some reactors take it seriously. They're like, why are you reacting to this? This is my territory, or whatever. It's like. Because I am.
Yeah.
Because I'm. You don't have. It's not your band, man. I mean. Yeah. It's not just your band.
The reaction thing's difficult because I agree with what you say. That moreover, I think that if the community does it, it should be a community thing. For me, the difficult thing is because like when a reactor puts out a video, they can do it like that, like really quickly. Like if you do it, you record it. If you got your system, you get it done, you get it out. For me, like if I do a review, it's going to take me like best part of a day to put it all together because I have to like write my notes and everything. So I kind of have to do a lot more to get the video out. So there have been a couple of instances where I'm talking to someone about. So this doesn't happen anymore, but there were instances a few years ago where I talked to someone about a band, and then I was like, I'm really looking forward to like spreading this band to people, and then they just immediately went and did a reaction and posted it before me. I'm like held on for a minute. So that has happened to me a couple of times in the past. But the truth is that it's not the end of the world, and the band still gets noticed, and that's kind of. But when it comes to like you say, it's like I think more the merrier. If people want to share a band who you're into, yeah, let them do it. Let them do it because it just means that. And also, like I was saying about the community sticking together, if you're reacting to it and I'm reacting to it and someone else is reacting to it, we will share views because it will go from your video to my video. We'll get seen in each other's recommendations.
Yeah.
So, and it's good for everyone. Everyone wins. Everyone wins.
I agree with that too. I see that because we all kind of share the same space, and you can just see in the Discords that the people kind of know the other channels. I'm surprised. Oh, okay, that's cool, man. You guys follow this stuff, and I just enjoy doing it. So it's fun for me. But BAKA Broadcast, Mr. Howard, it was great talking to you, man. I learned so much about what it's like over there in Japan. I know it's a lot safer. I could just be out at night and not have to worry about anything. It's not like an anime. There's not monsters or giant robots or ghosts. A lot of ghosts.
Truck-kun is real. Truck-kun is real. Oh. Truck-kun will come and get you. Yeah. Oh. Secretly, if you have any touching moment in your life, a small little K truck will appear out of nowhere and run you over. So Truck-kun is real. Oh. Anyone who knows the Truck-kun meme will know what I'm talking about here. Sorry.
I'm just pretending to know. What is the Truck-kun meme?
Ironically, my knowledge of anime is pretty much non-existent, but I've seen this at one, and it's basically someone put together a montage of the fact that apparently in lots of animes, like there'll be a scene where something like touching happens, and then someone will walk out into the road and just be swept away and get run over. You know, we've all seen that trope before. But every time they get run over, it's by a little white K truck, and so someone sort of like theorized it's the same truck every single time, and it's this sentient thing called truckkin, which is actually wiping people out of various animes, and so this has like become a meme. So yeah, every time you see if you like walking around a corner and you just see like a quietly purring white K truck, you know that it's waiting for you, and it'll wait for you to have any touching life moment. Truckkin's gonna come get you, wipe you out.
I'll try to be careful of that, man. Try to be careful. But yeah, man, we had a good talk. We even talked about Gotrek Spin, Bandmaid, BABYMETAL, even Baby Beard. That came up.
Yeah. Lady, baby, beardy, baby, lady, baby,
DaDaDa,
girly.
DaDaDa.
Yeah. Please, for anyone who's wondering how to check them out, so that if you do type Japanese, it's DaDaDams. Otherwise, you can find out on my channel. There's a video which is like labeled DaDaDa. I've got a couple of DaDaDams videos. If you click on them, there'll be links to more in the description. Also, if you just search, you can search. I think if you search DDDMS, that's often used as a shorthand link. You'll be able to find them that way. Please do. I mean, I appreciate if you come support my channel, but please do support DaDaDams. They're a work in progress. You know, they've only got a couple of songs studio recorded, but they've got so many great songs that they've got to get into the studio. They've got a lot of potential. They're one of those groups who, if you want to follow something which has got more potential, it's got more future ahead of it, this is a great one. Get on board right now, I'd say. Yeah, there's only a small amount of material at the moment, but believe me, there's a lot of potential coming. So it's one of those ones that if you like to follow something and you want to be involved in something that's happening, get on board with them. Yeah, that's my sales pitch.
All right, Howard, that was a good sales pitch. All right, well, guys, it's been good. It's been great. Y'all take it easy.
It's been a pleasure, mate.
Y'all take it easy. All right, 1 second.